I used to take the kids to a orchard to interview the migrant workers. The very, very smart students are the hardest students because they don't want to have mistakes. They are not
Right.
used to that.
Right.
So, and like when they say, well, I'm probably going to have it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Let's see.
I
Let's
want to
find
know
out.
if it's wrong or not.
Yeah.
So, and not shaming the students. When I got into the classroom, I was thinking like everything was gonna be like rainbows and like little unicorns and
Yeah.
flowers, and my students were gonna be like excited about learning. And I got there, and the students actually didn't know that I was a new teacher. I remember me driving home. I had like 25 minutes commute to
Yeah.
from my school to home. And I remember like me crying and thinking like I'm a bad teacher. And I told them, just imagine that I have to wait until my accent is clean, or I know perfect grammar of how to say. I will not be speaking. I will not be talking to anyone.
Yeah.
So every time that I have a mistake and you correct me,
Yeah.
it's like that's how you help me. I help you.
Yeah.
So have mistakes is part of the process.
Good day. Welcome back to the For Education podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm fired up for today's episode and for today's guest. I'm excited to welcome Anna Reed to today's show. Anna, thanks for coming on to the show today. I appreciate it. How are you?
Hey, Fred, thank you for inviting me. And yeah, I'm doing good here from Missouri.
Awesome. I met Anna at a conference last year, an educational conference. Anna, can you give us a little bit of background on where are you from and what was growing up like for you?
Well, I am originally from Mexico. I grew up in San Luis Potosí, which is in the center of the country, and I'm coming from a family of teachers, and I did not want to be a teacher, but my mom, my dad. Three of my four siblings are teachers, and I moved to the United States 25 years ago. I supposed to be coming for 1 year, and after 25 years, I still here. And as a kid, I always liked English.
Okay.
My grandpa came one day with this. Remember the boom boxes?
Yes.
So okay, so
Over your shoulder.
he used to come to visit us and bring his. And one night I remember I was listening an English channel, AM English channel with him, and I asked him like, what is this? Oh, it's English. And I said, I want to speak. I want to speak English. And he was like, no, it's a whole other language. But after that, I wanted to learn English. So I went to a lot of classes, and at that time we did not have bilingual education like we do in Mexico right now. So I went to a lot of teachers, and it's not easy for me, but my accent is still really thick, but I just wanted to do it. And I grew up with English classes, and no wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And so married, 2 kids, 6 dogs,
Yes.
a teacher, Spanish teacher. I don't know what else I can tell you. So
That's great. So your family were teachers when you were growing up. And you said you didn't want to be one. So what did you want to do? What was your idea or your plan?
well, again with my grandpa,
Yeah.
I remember he used to tell me, "You talk too much. I pay you 5 pesos if you stop talking."
Wow.
So and he will say like, nobody will pay you for talking. So I will pay you for being quiet.
Yeah.
And well, I went to college in Tampico for science and communication. And that's my degree from Mexico. I used to work in a radio station. And when I graduated, my grandpa by that time already passed away, but I told a lot about him.
Yeah.
To like to tell him like, hey, and guess what I'm gonna do now?
Paid to talk now.
Yes, and I had a few radio shows, and it was pretty fun. The people I worked with and the radio station was pretty fun. So all my years working in Mexico were in communications. So I worked for government and the communications department, and so everything was about communication until I moved to United States.
Okay. Yep. And I didn't realize early on you decided you wanted to learn English. It sounds like there wasn't you didn't have Duolingo, you didn't have all the resources or phones or anything we have today, but you just decided, I'm going to do it, and you did it.
Exactly. So I was like determined to the point where I told my mom, about graduating from high school. I told my parents, I want to go to United States to learn English. And they were like, "Pfft, yeah, right. You don't even have a passport." And, like in Mexico, even here, teachers are not like, we don't make a lot of money.
Right.
And I was so determined that I found a family that wanted to have me kind of like an exchange program.
Yeah.
And I lived here for 9 months with them, and I learned a little bit more English. Yeah. And I always said, like, if you want to really learn the language, you have to go to that country. Yes. And that's what I did. And then I went back to Mexico. I went to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you first go in the United States?
Oh, I live in Richardson in Texas. It's like a suburb in Dallas.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. I was there for nine months. And then I moved here later, 25 years ago, to Michigan.
How big was your culture shock experience when you moved to Texas from Mexico? Was it a big change, or did it feel?
Yes, it was. But I think that I live with a Hispanic family, like a mixed family.
Right.
And I did speak a lot Spanish with them. Okay. So, but I went to school. And I met like a lot of people, and yes, it was like, oh, that's like in the movies.
School's so different. That's really cool. So did you study to become a teacher in Mexico, or did you do your studying in the United States? What was the process of you becoming a classroom teacher?
Yes. Well, see, when I moved here, my idea to come again to the United States was to better my English, because I wanted to go and work in a big city in Mexico. Okay. So I needed English to to work, to move to Monterrey and have a good job. So I moved here with the idea of coming for a year. Okay. I wanted to go to Europe, before I get married, or before, I wanted to travel, and I came here, and then I met my husband.
Congratulations.
And I stay, So it was like no even like a doubt that, is this gonna work, or so. But I started to volunteer in the Ohio Migrant Education Center. And I just started to volunteer because I was pregnant, and I knew that I wasn't going to get like a job.
Right.
Which, so I started to volunteer there, and then I used to go to the fields with a teacher. I was like a teacher aide. Okay. And that's when I realized that, hey, I like this. I like to do this. Yeah. And I went back to my boss, Jose, and I say, hey, what can I do to be a teacher? Like, I have a degree in Mexico. Right. So, and he's like, no, you're going to have to go to school again. And, it depends on the state. Right. You cannot just have a degree, because in Mexico is the case. Yeah. So if you have, like my siblings, they didn't go to school to be teachers. They, actually, my brother went to school with me. We have the same degree, and he's just teaching like computer science and stuff that is related to our, our
Right.
degree. And here he said, nope, you have to go to school. So I was like, ooh, I don't know, having, a new baby and all that. But then one day, somebody came to the office, and he said, well, we are looking for people that want to become teachers.
Yeah.
So Japanese and Spanish teachers.
Okay.
So we're giving these scholarships.
Okay.
So the only thing we need is people that is fluent in Spanish and that have a degree.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hello. I think I qualify. So I did all my, I transfer all my credits to the U.S. system. They accept them, and I did my master's. That was because they were taking really like the education I had, and then we added to a master's.
Okay.
And it was really hard because it was 9 classes in 9 months.
Wow.
And I had to travel, I have to commute to the University of Findlay,
Right.
and that's where I graduate from. So were some nights where I was like, I do not want this.
Yeah.
It's too much.
New kid, and you're studying and you're traveling. Were you studying to be a teacher? Is that what the program, like an education program? Okay.
Yeah, all the Spanish classes and the Japanese classes were not given because we were fluent. Like you have to do
Right.
like a test, like a big
Okay.
test, and then they just wanted to we had all the psychology and sociology and all the assessment classes and all that. So
Okay.
but was like really intense. And I had a job, I had family, but
Right.
I can tell you that all those months that were so hard were so worth it.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So,
Yes, and
you
my
were learning-
husband always telling me like, this is your future, don't quit, because probably 30 or 40% of the people that started the program, they quit.
Wow. So he was really encouraging you to push through. And were you learning about how to be a teacher? Was that what the classes were about?
Yes, all the like how to grade and all the like a little bit of the psychology and
Right.
behavioral and yes.
Yeah. So you were teaching adults when you first got started, or how did you get into teaching high school?
I graduated. This is just a blessing because the same day that was my graduation, like my last class graduation,
Yeah.
the same day that I got awarded my citizenship, that was the same day that the principal of my school called me and said, "Hey, we want to interview you."
Wow. Same day.
Yeah, so it was like we went to Cleveland for me to do my my how you say juramentación, like the oath
The oath.
for
yeah.
my
Swearing
for
in.
my citizenship, and from
Yeah.
there we went to we traveled to Findlay to do my my ceremony, and then I go home and I didn't have a cell phone, so I got in my machine 2007.
Yes.
That's the year that the iPhone came.
Right. Yep.
So, but so, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is all this? But yeah, so I'm super fortunate because that was the very first school where I applied.
Okay.
And they called me, and it's precisely the reason why this program, these scholarships were given to the university,
Right.
because they didn't have a lot of Spanish teachers.
Right.
Even
Wow.
now, is we're struggling with like finding language teachers.
Yeah. So you got a job at the high school. They gave you the call. The call was for an interview or for a job. You got the job, and now you're a high school Spanish teacher. How was your first year in the classroom teaching?
Very stressful. I really had no idea. Like what they teach, they tell you, I remember one of the professors saying like, well, this is going to be a question in your praxis, right? And this is going to be something that you're going to want to say, and this is something that you're going to want to do in the classroom.
Right.
And when I got into the classroom, I was thinking like everything was going to be like rainbows and like little unicorns and flowers,
Yeah.
and my students were going to be like excited about learning. And I got there, and the students actually didn't know that I was a new teacher. So
Okay.
when they got into the classroom, some of them were like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
Like, what's happening here? So it was a little, I mean, I started with 60 students because the kids did not want to take the language.
Okay.
So my classes were really, really small. And, I just thought I have to have fun, you
Yeah.
know? I just have to make it fun for me. And
Yeah.
if the kids have fun, okay. But
Everybody has fun.
because, yeah. And that year I had 66 students. And the following year I have 150 students.
Wow, and these kids choose your class, so that
Yes.
meant that they were enjoying it. They were telling their friends about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So it was a point where the next school year, because actually the first school year, I didn't even have all the classes.
Right.
Like I had like 2 periods where I had like another. I had to go and watch the students
Right.
in the lunchroom and in the
Right.
cafeteria because they didn't even have enough students for Spanish.
Right.
That the classes were not full. So I started as a long-term substitute teacher because I
Right.
didn't have I was in the process of getting my praxis passed, all my testing passed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and like the next year, I told my boss, like, what else can I do? I need a full-time job because
Right.
I think that I was a part-time, or maybe they took me I don't remember, but I remember I said, like, I can't get a part-time job because I have to commute to come to this school.
Right.
It's not going to be worth it for me to come. And I passed my praxis the second time.
Yeah.
Yay.
Nice.
But there are teachers that don't pass it
Right.
at all, like after 10 times.
Wow.
But anyway, so I told my boss, and he's like, nope, all your classes are full. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Congrats. That's really impressive that after 1 year that you went from very little interest in kids taking Spanish to so many. Do you have any, like, most teachers have a really hard first year. Like, people tell scary stories about their first year in the classroom. Did you have any times in that first year when you were like, this isn't working, this is too hard? Any stories of kids acting up so bad that you didn't think you could go on?
Yes, I did. But like I remember me driving home. I had like 25 minutes commute to my, from my school to home. And I remember like me crying and thinking like, I'm a bad teacher. My students don't want to learn. We are always talking in the meetings about like motivating, how you're gonna motivate your students.
Yeah.
And I think that what helped me was that I always talk to my students and say, hey, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Is this personal, or like you're having a bad day?
Yeah.
And I had a lot of students coming back later and saying like, I'm so sorry. I know I'm super mean to you. So, and I always also try to reward the good behavior.
Yeah.
To say like, hey, because the nice guys, because you guys, even if I had 2, 3, you always have
Right.
that kid,
Yeah.
that class.
Yeah.
But I used to say like, hey, we're going to get to play today because you guys have been really good.
Yeah.
And then people will be like, but then he's not going to play because, or I will say like, hey, you don't want to play? Like, let's behave. Let's do good. Let's, do all this. And since the beginning, I like to do like games,
Right.
like games. And I did not have a lot of technology like I have now.
Yeah.
So like the games were more like I remember I had a Boppet. Remember that
Vivid
Boppet that
Muppet,
you
yeah.
put and we would pass it around, or we have like the hot potato
Yeah.
and like like musical chairs. Like we were always moving. So
Yeah.
yeah, and projects,
Yeah.
that were like Day of the Dead or
Right.
so yeah, it was. So the students, I think that they had fun,
Yeah.
and is one of the things that I always say like, hey, we have a game today, so we
Right.
gotta go through
Stay
everything,
on it.
and they, for the most part, I think that they understand that I am strict,
Yeah.
but it still can be fun.
Yeah. How long were you teaching before you started to feel like really comfortable and like you know what you're doing and you've kind of taken in that teacher role?
Well, there's not year that I have been
Yeah.
wanted to teach.
Right.
Like really, I think that I have been lucky to have good administrators.
Awesome. That
You
game changer.
know,
Yeah.
yes. So if I say, hey, I want to, can you buy me a game? Can you buy
Right.
me a movie? Can you buy,
Yeah.
I want this book. I want to
Yeah.
work with this book, or can I do this project?
Yeah.
Can we take the student, like when I was in Ohio, first I was in Ohio 7 years. I used to take the kids to the DEI museum in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
So like we did a lot of things like that. I used to take the kids to a orchard to interview the migrant workers in
Wow. That's
Spanish.
really powerful. That's,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we always had like one or two field trips, and my
Yeah.
boss always supported me.
Yeah.
So I think that I was very lucky that because I hear a lot about that. I hear
Right.
that the administrators bully the teachers, and it's very, very sad. But for me, nope. I mean, it's like one or two, or like you have this problem
Yeah.
with this parent.
Right.
But mostly, I have been in Spain with my students.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's everything counts. But I think that I work in a really small school also to
Right.
start with. So my school now here in Missouri is bigger.
Yep.
But I still have my boss's support.
Yep.
There are other problems, but I'm just like, nope, I'm not gonna look at that.
Yeah.
If this teacher is mean to me, it's your
You're
problem.
focused on your classroom.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing. That's great because a lot of
Yeah.
people do have such a hard experience with teaching and having a supportive administration and them encouraging you to step out of the box. Like, I want to hear more about these interviews with the migrant workers because I think that's a really, like, you're not just having students step out of their comfort zone with language, but you're probably taking them somewhere they wouldn't go otherwise. So how have those trips gone? Is that something you've been doing for a while that you still do?
Well, I don't do it here because we do not have migrant workers here.
Okay.
We do
Yeah.
not in Ohio, there is a lot of farms.
Right.
And because I used to work in the Ohio Migrant Education Center, I had this connection with these farms. So they knew me because before being a teacher, I was a recruiter.
Cool.
And then in the same OMEC, the Ohio Migrant Education Center, I was a health fair coordinator. So I used to come to the farms and talk to the farmers and say, hey, we're going to have a health fair here. Can you let we're going to do screenings. You want to send your workers here. Or the kids, the families, like I used to go and recruit students for the migrant the summer program for schools.
Cool.
So that connected me to that, to that part of my community.
Yeah.
And then when I became a teacher, I'm like, hey, I know where we can go and practice Spanish, but you know what I did here? I took my students to the Mexican restaurant and they order in Spanish, and their assignment was to interview the waitress, and then they did memes in Spanish, of the food, and so it was pretty cool. So it was a really good way to show them, because sometimes they don't know. I
Right.
say, hey, you can order in Spanish. It's really easy
Right.
now. And until they go and they try, they are like, oh, I can actually do it.
Yeah.
So I always try to do something where students are forced to talk.
Right. That's one of those, like, it's a fully immersive learning experience. Like, you can learn how to write on a worksheet or answer a question on a test, but when you're having a conversation with a person in the field or at a restaurant, like, it's memorable because they're probably going to mess up at some point. And, that experience, like, they're going to remember that for the rest of their life. That's really cool that you put them in those situations. Were they received well? Like, do the students enjoy it, or do you get a lot of pushback?
Yeah, yeah, and I did it more in the upper levels. So
Yeah.
the students in Spanish 1 and 2 will say, or Spanish 2, because they knew me more, they will say, like, why don't we go? Well, you have to take more Spanish
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can go, you
Wow.
know. But yeah, like going to the Mexican restaurant, ordering in Spanish.
Yeah.
And one year we went to the zoo, and the students have to create they didn't talk to anybody in Spanish, but
Right.
they have to answer some questions. It was like a scavenger hunt, and
Yeah.
they have to create like a brochure. And we did that one only 1 year, because then I found a better ways to,
Yeah.
for the students to use their Spanish. But it's always fun. The students are always excited to leave the classroom. And
Of course. And eat, if you get the opportunity to bring food into it, that's always helpful. So, do you find I've found this in my own personal language learning experience, but do you find that students, like, it feels like I don't know if it's a different part of the brain or how it works, but I feel like the students that typically are good at the school game, they can take notes and get good grades on a test, but they might struggle with the language experience more than a student who's kind of loud and outgoing, because when it comes to learning a language, you have to be conversational and you have to be willing to fail and say it wrong in order to learn how to say it right. Have you found that? Like, what's that experience been like for you with your students learning Spanish?
well, I have students that are very quiet, that
Yeah.
are very, very smart, very dedicated.
Right.
And some of them, I feel like people comes with, it's like a toolbox,
Yeah.
like you have it or you don't. Some students, like me, like when I was learning the language, I couldn't pronounce very good.
Right.
I still can't. I wish I could clean my accent, and I just
Yeah.
can't. I don't know. I try, but there are students that are the very, very smart students are the hardest students, because they don't want to have mistakes. They are not
Right.
used to that.
Right.
So, and like when they say, well, I'm probably going to have it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Let's see.
I
Let's
want to
find
know
out.
if it's wrong or not,
Yeah.
So, and not shaming the students. I think that's what is, and I think that I have a little bit of advantage, because they see how my mistakes on the language.
Yeah.
And I told them, just imagine that I have to wait until my accent is clean, or I know perfect grammar of how to say. I will not be speaking. I will not be talking to anyone.
Yeah.
So every time that I have a mistake and you correct me, it's like that's how you help me. I help you. So
Yeah.
have mistakes is part of the process. So I just try to encourage that type of environment in my classroom where, they're gonna say something wrong, and when other students correct them, I say, hey, that was awesome, thank you. Like, thank you for being so respectful, and or when they are like, oh, ha ha ha, I'm like, oh, okay. And I start to speak only Spanish with that kid. I say, oh, I thought you were perfect speaking Spanish. That's why you're making fun of the kid. So they know that I don't allow people to make fun of the other kids. And, and I explain all the time, like, if you don't talk. But to answer your question, I think that there are some kids that just have it
Right.
in them, like they may have very good ear and they
Right.
can, therefore they can pronounce pretty good.
Yeah.
There are students that I wish they speak more.
Right.
And when I think that, oh, they got it because they have perfect score in their test, they just can't pronounce things.
Right.
And it's because they just don't want to speak.
Yeah.
But there are other ones that when they speak, it's like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
this is perfect. And I say, hey, your pronunciation is perfecto.
Right.
You need to speak more.
Yeah.
So I encourage a lot. I do a lot of activities where students have to talk, whether they like it or not.
That's great. I feel like, in life, it's more like learning a language. Like in school, you're kind of taught, like, all right, you take a test, and if you fail, it's bad. And they kind of learn that style. But in reality, in the real world, you have to try things, and you have to fail them and be bad at them in order to get good at them. And I found that, like, for me, learning Spanish, like, I had to embarrass myself and say things totally incorrectly. And every time that happens, people will laugh at me, or they tell me I was wrong, and that's what's memorable for me. And I think that's a hard transition for students to make to, oh, I have to fail. And every other class they're taught, you're not allowed to fail, or failing's bad. So it's kind of a mindset shift for students that it's pretty hard to take on, especially kids that are used to getting A's and perfect scores and everything else. Do you find, I'm curious, and I want to talk a little more about technology later, but with Chat GPT and with AI being able to do a very good job at translating all of these things, do you find, I would think that the speaking is more important than ever, because I can write an email or a message to a colleague in Spanish and just have it translated automatically by AI now, but you'll never be able to do that with your speaking voice. Have you found, with AI and all these translation apps coming out, has that changed the way that you teach and approach teaching Spanish?
Yes, definitely it is. And to start with, they cannot cheat in my classroom because they have to do everything there.
Right.
If that's what I want to grade, if that's what I want to know that they know, tell me what you can produce here.
Right.
So the homework that they do at home is like writing words, or like memorizing the vocabulary.
Right.
But then when they come to the classroom, and everything is in paper.
Yeah.
Everything is in paper. We have this that we use that is called columnas, where in what columna you put the vocabulary, and then the second column you're going to they have to translate, but it's just the vocabulary.
Yeah.
And they have to do it on paper.
Yeah.
So they may be able to translate, but
Right.
they have to write it down.
That's great.
And like research shows that they can learn better when they write it.
Yeah.
When they write it, say it, read it, and stuff. Now, I love technology. That's how we met, right?
Right, for sure.
In the technology symposium. But what I want to do is to teach the students to use it in a smart way, to be
Right.
smart about it, because I know that there are school districts that they are banning all that, they are blocking all that. And our school district, again, I'm super lucky to be my schools are different of what I see, what I hear from other teachers. And our school is all about technology.
Cool.
We have this, our school district has a really big department. And, when I told my principal, hey, I want to go to this two-day conferences, yep, sure,
Awesome.
and they pay and everything. Like, they are really, really, really big on technology. So I want to teach my students to use technology to their advantage.
Right.
Because sometimes you have to think as a teacher what you want to grade, what you want to assess, right? I will tell you that my students, my teaching style is more focused on the communication than the reading and writing, which of
Right.
course is important. Everything
Yeah.
is important. Is
Yeah.
is the whole thing, right? But when my students can understand the grammar and can write sentences,
Yeah.
and like okay, so now that you understand
Right.
how this works, now we're gonna start to communicate. But we communicate since day one.
Yeah.
We start like I make them talk since day one,
Yeah.
and is they need to learn, because if we don't teach them how to use it properly and ethically, then like when they go to these jobs, what they're gonna do,
Right.
They're gonna cheat all the time.
Yeah.
So if I want to grade their pronunciation, okay, we did this year. I told them, I don't care what you use, get a topic in 10 minutes,
Yeah.
3 minutes presentation on whatever you want.
Right.
And I think that we chose, oh my goodness, they talk about Hispanic people, famous
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't care. I just came to ask you for you to like make sure that the grammar is right, the information is right, and that's fine. So they brought the paper, and I say you have to memorize it now, and you're going to do a presentation on this. So I wasn't grading them producing sentences. Right. I was grading that they can memorize, and also that they can improvise.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things I told them, like, you cannot stop talking. I don't care what you tell me if you forget.
Yeah.
Because this is not only, because I don't want, like memorizing, you can memorize a poem, right? And you say it with no feeling. But I want them to know what they are saying. So, like, you cannot stop talking for 3 minutes. And this is the rubric. This is what make sure that your pronunciation is right. Yeah. And you can improvise, and please improvise. So, and that's what they did, and they did a good job. They hated it. But they liked the fact that they were like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, we're not cheating. Like, if we are using ChatGPT, I say, no, because we want to save time.
Yep.
Like, that's the reason why I'm not grading on what you can write. I'm grading of what you can memorize and what you can say.
That's really good. It's the delivery, what they're delivering, not how they came up with it. That's really cool.
Yes, and explaining to them what is the real objective. Yeah. I think that's very important too. Yeah,
100%. So transitioning a little bit, you said you've taken your kids to Spain. Tell me about the trips to Spain, and how do your students experience that?
Oh, that was amazing. If teachers are listening and you never took your students anywhere, try to like take them to Chicago at least.
Yeah.
Like Los Angeles or well, I did my first trip in 2013. Okay. Those kids that went to Spain, are already having kids, and like already professionals, and some of them went back. And it's the best experience you can give to your kids. This last year we went again, and I found this company that they took us to a school. So we did pen pal letters with them.
Awesome.
Through the year, and then we went to visit the school.
Yeah.
So it's a like really small company in Spain. Cool. So, but that was that was the highlight of of the trip, and obviously the students. Again, the cultural shock. Like in the United States we do this, and we will not have this, but they love the cities. Yeah. We went to Sevilla. We went to Granada. We were in Madrid, obviously, but so they love it, and I think that they came with a little bit more confidence of, what is always hard is the food.
Yeah.
They like I have to carry my jalapenos because they do not eat anything spicy at all. So, and I had a student that he is Mexican too, and he will be like, "Maestra, can I have your chiles?" And they did not like a lot the food,
Right.
but they found like all the restaurants that we have here, so they got to try that,
Yeah.
and it was pretty cool.
That's probably a stereotype you have to break. I know I had this, but it was like, you know, American kids bundle them all together and they think, oh, Mexican food is spicy and Mexican food is this, so Spanish food is the same. And obviously it's not. But a lot of them are probably learning that when they get there, that, oh, Spanish food is different from Mexican food, which is different from other places in the Spanish-speaking world. And I'm sure it's a bit of a shock. And also even just Europe, like I've never been to Spain besides the airport, but in Europe, it's just a different food culture. Than the U.S. is just this fast food, all you can eat, all refills with ice. And I remember being in Italy, and it was like the portions are much smaller. There's no ice. They drink like carbonated water, and like it was just a whole different thing. And kids that have only eaten American food are they don't really appreciate or at least I didn't appreciate the uniqueness of it in the moment. So that's probably a whole teaching experience in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and for them to realize that there is other things different that what like what you see. So
Right.
it's an experience. We always said like, hey, you're gonna try the food today, and they
Yeah.
were like, no, no, no. And then one day was like, yay, tried the
Cool.
food. Did you like it? And something I always tell my kids in general, how do you know you like it or you don't?
Right.
Like if you never try. So I think that's a really good push to help students to realize that it's important to always try,
Yeah.
even when they are answering questions and they say, well, it's probably going to be wrong.
Yeah.
How do we know? Let's
Right.
say it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, this is a really good experience. The first time I went, I was like, it's like Mexico, like
Yeah.
it's no,
Totally different.
totally
Right.
different. It's not only that the accent is different, but a
Right.
lot of the words are different. So we
Right.
use some words, we have the same word, but it has a different meaning.
Right.
So when you're talking to people, even in their own language, that the Spanish, Mexican Spanish to Spanish, 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 some things are different, and it can be confusing.
Right.
So, but yeah, so I have a few TikToks. I have two TikToks with the Anna, the lady that the director that took us in the trip, and we're saying like, well, how do you say ascensor? No, we
Yeah.
say elevador. So, and is for me it also was a learning experience on many ways, because the food obviously totally different.
Right.
They don't eat with a lot ketchup also.
Right.
So I told my students, bring your ketchup, because you're not gonna see it there. Like the French fries
Yeah.
they eat, they do not put ketchup, and they're like,
Right.
what? So it's just like seeing. It helps them also to see how we
Yeah.
do different things in different countries, and it's just an awesome experience.
Yeah, they need to learn that just because something's American doesn't mean it's right. We always think, oh, our way is the way, and that needs to be broken from them. And sometimes a trip like that helps. How I'm curious, and I know there was a big time difference, I'm sure, between when you went to school and were teaching it. But I got the chance to step into some public schools in Mexico about a little over 10 years ago now, and I was just blown away by the difference from high school in Mexico and the United States. And I'm curious, for you, having gone to school in Mexico and teaching in the U.S., how big of a difference and kind of culture shock was stepping into a U.S. classroom for you?
Yeah, a big one. Really, like a galaxy difference.
Yeah.
Well, the first time, the student we had I think there was a fire drill in my high school where I was teaching.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Right.
So
What is
students
this
start to
happening?
leave the classroom, and I was like, that's weird. We just started 20 minutes ago, right? And then the last student said, like, it's a fire drill. You need to get out. I'm like, oh, bring your list. Oh, okay, So
Yeah.
I never really went to school here, so
Right.
it was like a lot of learning for me
Yeah.
on not only how to teach, but also how all those little things that we don't have in Mexico.
Right.
I really like that we have our classroom here.
Yeah.
Like I have my own classroom, and I can decorate however I want. In Mexico, obviously, like teachers don't own the classroom, so and it's one of the things that I wanted to show my students when we went to Spain. That we went to this school, and they like we went through the whole school. They gave us a tour, and I was telling the students, well, this, like kids don't move. The teachers are the ones that
Right.
move.
Yeah.
So the students are always in the same classroom. And I love my classroom here. But yes, definitely is a lot of the acronyms, when we went
Yeah,
to the
there's so many
meetings.
acronyms in education in the
I was
US.
always like, yes. To the day of today, I'm always like
language.
writing and putting question marks to check later, because there is a lot of acronyms, and I'm like, I have no idea what
Yeah.
they are talking about. Also, like in Ohio, there were a lot of changes. Like they were doing what are they? But acronyms also, but like how we were assessing. Then was 1 year that the teachers were going to be assessed by students, and then they will give you contract or no. Or, like Ohio is always, they were always changing things. Like
Yeah.
it looked to me like every year, okay, so now we're going to use this, or now
Right.
we're going to use that. And I remembered, like, I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember teachers crying, like crying, like sobbing, like, oh my God. And I will be like, what is I don't understand. Like, am I missing something? Like, why is everybody so worried? But I think that me not understanding was a good thing,
Yeah.
because
You weren't attached to the old system. They had been doing one thing for one way for so long, and you weren't attached to it.
and like you do what you're asked to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like I was like, well, if they are not using the system, probably it's not working.
Yeah. That's a
And
good
I would
point.
just go and ask questions to my boss and say, hey, like, are we doing this like this? Yeah. Why? Because this and this. Sometimes he will say, Anna, I don't know.
That's a good leader. Yeah.
But let's try to do the best. I said, okay, sure. So I just like there were things that I really didn't understand. And a lot of the times I would double myself of, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I was understanding. I'm just not reacting the same way that other people.
Right. Right.
So, and sometimes I was like, if I do it wrong, probably they will come and tell me I'm doing it wrong.
I'll find out sooner or later. So
Yeah.
what really stood out to me, biggest differences. One, what you said, like this kids stay in the same room all day and the teachers move. And I thought that's got to be really hard for students to just stay in the same spot all day. But I remember it was in southern Mexico. There was no air conditioning in the room. There was a fan. There was probably 40 kids with one teacher, maybe more. But the teacher had full control. Like the respect for the teacher was something that I've never seen here. And it was like a kid that showed up late had to wait at the door for the teacher to let them in. In the U.S., I was always told not to do that. The students had to pay for even though it was a public school, students had to pay for their uniforms, pay for their books, take their own transportation, whether it was paying for the local bus or the convy or walking or riding a bike. Like there was no, and meals weren't served. There was like a snack, recreo, recess hour, but I've found like there was nothing given to them. even in
Nothing.
a public school system. And so kids, by the time they got there and they paid for their transportation, paid for their books, paid for their materials, they weren't wasting it. I've noticed in the U.S. there's a lot of, you get your free transportation, you get free books, free computer, free lunch, all of these things. And some kids appreciate that, but a lot of kids kind of squander it. It really stood out to me how much of a privilege education was in Mexico compared to, even though you're given more in the U.S., it's often not really appreciated as much. That it blew my mind.
Yeah. Well, for me, for instance, a student and again, I think that over time, it takes you a little bit of time to build respect from your students.
Right.
Like in Mexico, well, like I grew up in a time where you couldn't even say like, why we have to learn this?
Right.
Like I could ask, how do I apply this?
Right.
How do I use this in real life? But I couldn't ever say like, oh, this is stupid. Oh my goodness. No, you would not be, and it was double trouble because you would go to the office. You do not want it to be taken to the office. And my parents would be like, absolutely not,
Right.
So we grew up with uniforms. That's another thing that is like, it still shocked me, how students can wear like pajamas to school.
Whatever they want.
Yeah. So it's really sad to see how some standards have going really, really down.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I can tell you everything that is wrong with our system,
Yeah.
but that's what I try to not to pay attention.
I love
Because it's not in my control.
Right.
I cannot, like, if my boss is not doing his job, what can I do?
You can't
Right?
change that. Yeah.
So I take care of the things that are in my control. And I think that this is part of what makes me happy to do what I do. Because when I talk to other teachers, a lot of them are just like, the negativity.
They're miserable and they got negative energy and they're spreading it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I grew up with parents that told me, if you're complaining about your job, quit and go
That's
and do
good.
something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
I do not ever want you to tell me again that this and this and this,
Yeah.
because if you don't like it, there is so many things that you can do.
That's great.
So I grew up with that in mind. My dad was the principal in my high school.
Oh, wow.
So I saw firsthand how, like, in the two sides as a kid, but also as a student. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want to be a teacher.
That's awesome.
Because I was like, too much work, too much worry. But I saw, like how things, like my dad will say, well, again, this teacher, oh my gosh, oh, this teacher is doing this, and I learned to be a person that instead of bringing problems, like every time my boss see me, he knows I'm going to ask for something,
Yeah.
but he doesn't see me for anything else.
Right. You're not there to complain. You're not.
No, he
great.
knows that when I'm there is because I want to do something for my students. And I try to, like disciplinary things, I try to do as much as I can on my own. And the office know, like the principal or the assistant principals, they know that when I'm there is because I already did, like I already walked 10 steps.
Yes.
So when
You've
they
done
see
everything
me, it's
in your-
like,
Yeah.
yes.
love
But
that.
I learned it from my parents,
Yeah.
like knowing that how hard they had it for
Right.
things that they were like, like do your job. Like,
Yeah.
why do you want me to
Amen.
do your job?
So, for the sake of time, I got to ask the last question, and then we'll have to do a sequel on Freducación when it come out in Spanish. But what advice would you give to new teachers that are coming into the profession, that are maybe getting started and don't know what to do?
Well, that's a hard one because, I have been teaching for 18 years, and every year is a new year for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm as, Oh, I'm as worried and nervous the
Yeah,
first day as I was every year, every year.
because you care.
Um, like the first year, because I think that the first impression is the one is going to stick with the students.
Right.
So and I only have one opportunity for that.
Yeah.
So I will say try to do what is in your control.
Right.
Like if the kid, if the parent, if the principal, if your teacher and like your neighbor are crazy and they don't do what they're supposed to do, you
Yeah.
can't fix it. You
Yeah.
can only do what is in your power, which is what you do inside your classroom with your students. So be like, ask for help.
Yeah.
If you're having problems with a kid, go around and check with the other teachers. You're having this problem. Try to communicate with parents. Communication is gonna save you tons and tons
Right.
of it may. I did this in like a full year. My focus was communication with parents.
Yeah.
Now I master it and I'm in a different,
Awesome.
objective. But that one objective per year that you can master to go through your year.
Yeah.
Don't try to do everything the first year and
Right.
get help. Get help. Like talk to people, talk to your psychiatrist, psychologist, to your principal,
Yeah.
and get surrounded by people that is positive.
That's huge. Finding a good person on campus that's doing it well, even if they're not officially your mentor, kind of adopting them as your mentor. That's a
Yes.
big deal.
Yes. My mentor the first year used to tell me, I used to go and say, hey, I'm having this problem. What do I do? Just punch him in the face. So I'm like, oh my goodness, no. So I have to move to another person.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I definitely can't do that.
My mentor quit 6 months into my first year teaching, but I found my unofficial mentors were
Yeah.
my best mentors, and that's important for teachers to know.
Yeah. Find that person and have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Amen.
That's the main thing. When you stop having fun, I think that you lost
Yeah.
half of your purpose. So,
That's
yes.
very well said. Anna, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for your time today. This has been a blast. Would love to do this again, but thanks for what you do for students, for teaching, for the positive energy you bring, and I wish you an awesome school year coming up. So if people want to support you, follow you, do you have anywhere, if they want to donate to your classroom, anywhere they can find you?
Well, I don't have anything. Well, I do have a personal blog. I write about everything. It's annareed.com. I actually going to start to do videos for teachers. Hopefully it helps. And I have a YouTube channel. It's not very active, but it will be, hopefully.
Great.
Learn Spanish, Anna Reed. And, oh my goodness, I did this yesterday. I taken a grad class and they asked us to do a podcast. So now I love it. And now I have a new podcast. It's 3 Minutos de Español. It's in Spotify. And I have a radio show, El Mundo de las Anas. It's all in English, it's all in Spanish, but 3 Minutos de Español is in English.
Okay.
And English and Spanish, so I'm going to start to put stuff there. And I'm just like you. I want to do everything. I just need more
love it.
time.
Well, I will link to all that in the YouTube description. So I'm excited to see where everything goes. But thanks again. This
Thank
has been a
you.
blast. And I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yes,
Awesome.
this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.